Well, hello, everybody. I'm Suzanne McCall, and this is the Self-Worth Talks. And on this show, we have women come who are out there in the world helping other women to develop their self-worth and empower them to be who they really are and thrive in life. So that is what we're doing here today. And today I have Kisha Zullo here, who is the founder of the Women in Business Summit and the CEO of Events of Joy. And so welcome, Kisha.
Thank you so much for having me, Suzanne, and hey, hello to everybody watching and
Yeah,
listening.
it's such a pleasure. I have really kind of been in your space a few times here and there, and over the last few years, so it's been great getting to know you. And I've been at the Women in Business Summit and loved it. The energy was amazing. So
And you're coming again this year, which is super, super exciting. Thank you so much for having me here and just being an amazing supporter of the conference and what I do. And it's been awesome. We just did sat down together at a table. Was it last week? Last Monday?
it was a week ago,
A
week and
week
a
ago.
half ago. That's it. It's like seems
Yeah.
like so long ago.
So
Yeah.
getting to know what you're up to and how you're serving and being, using your skills to help others. It's really awesome getting to know you and your work.
Thank you. Thank you. So I want you to share with everybody what you do. These two different businesses. You're definitely what did you call it? It was not a
Oh,
serial
a
entrepreneur.
multi-passionate entrepreneur.
Yes, that's what you are, which is wonderful. I totally connect with that. And what I would really love is if you could tell us a little bit about your story. Have you always been a multi-passionate entrepreneur? Or is that like your spirit forever since you were young?
Um,
Or what's your story about how you got to be doing what you're doing? If you don't mind sharing that.
yeah, no, I'm excited to share that because I think I've always been an event planner. I love when I was a kid, to organize. I'm the eldest daughter, so eldest, we're all girls in my family. And so I'm the eldest, and I used to love organizing talent shows with my sisters and, to entertain the adults when they came over.
Mm,
So, and then in college, I was on different committees planning different events. So event planning was always in my blood. I just didn't know what it was. I didn't have a name for it yet
yeah.
until I went to grad school. And actually undergrad is when I found out about event planning. After I graduated, my first job was in New
Mm,
Haven, Connecticut at a boutique hotel. And I fell in love with the field of event planning and just went from there on to grad school. And so that led me to when I lived in Washington, D.C., to see these amazing events and plan these amazing events, never thinking that I would be an entrepreneur or want to open my own business, but knowing that I wanted to continue to plan events. And
mm.
so when I moved back to this area, I when you have an idea or something that just won't leave you, you
Yes,
you
yes.
can't give up on it. And so the idea of owning my own business, I don't have an example to look at in my life, to say, oh, this is the track that you follow when you want to build and grow a business. But I
Hmm.
knew it's something that I wanted to try. So I started Events of Joy. And at the very same time, I was working for someone else. And I remember thinking about, well, how am I going to get clients? Like, who's going to pay me? I knew what I was doing. Your
Yeah.
passion and you have the skills, but how do I market myself? Where do I start? And so all of that was kind of in the background of my thinking. And then at the same time, I had an incident at work where a male coworker shared his salary and it was significantly more than mine. And I thought,
Wow.
how did I miss that opportunity to negotiate better? Was it something that I could have trained on? I just had all of those career questions and
Mhm.
kept replaying incidents in my mind of situations where, I could have gone left, where I should have gone right, maybe, and that
Yeah.
whole mentorship. So over the weekend, the salary difference stayed on my mind.
Yeah.
And then this wanting to create something and start a business. So then as I'm driving on the highway, I remember I was like, oh my gosh, I'll just plan my own event.
Why
And
not?
right, I'll be my first client. That's where I'll start.
Yeah.
And so that's where Web Summit started. And it was the idea that we could come together as professionals, as female professionals, and share our ideas. We
Mhm.
can learn from subject matter experts. We can follow the path or, listen to those who have gone farther than we have in our careers and learn from them. So that was, I thought if we could get together and talk about it from women across different industries and have these conversations, maybe the next person would negotiate better, or maybe the next person would understand how to build their personal brand or whatever that deficiency or that lack of skill that they needed to make up, we could solve it at Web Summit. And that was 19 years ago. We're
Wow.
going into our 19th year. So yeah.
Amazing.
And
You
then
really,
Events of Joy grew from there, I plan primarily for nonprofit executives and corporate executives who want to plan their meetings or galas in my Events of Joy world. And then Women in Business Summit is the annual conference that I've started
wow.
for
Wow.
19 years. Yeah.
That's so amazing how like you just never know what each step is gonna lead you to. Like
Right.
following this inner voice led you to all these amazing successes and business and doing these businesses. And you really didn't know. Like you said, I don't
I
know
didn't have a
why.
blueprint.
I don't know why, but I
Right.
want to do this.
Right. And it's so funny because I didn't think I think if I looking back, if I'd had all of the information, I would have chickened out. I was like
Yeah.
too hard because it's not that it's easier than working for someone else. My clients are my someone else. I work for my clients.
Yeah.
It's not that it's easier than going to, let's say, a 9 to 5, but it's a different type of hard.
Yeah.
So either way, it's
Yeah.
just this for me fulfills me um in a way that I did not expect. And I absolutely love what I do.
Wow.
So
Yeah. You must have so many stories of women who you've inspired and seen grow and develop as a result of 20 years of doing this.
it's interesting because I don't I've recently started to pay attention to what people are saying about the summit because I'm my hardest critic. So,
Oh,
you know, it's like finish one, Suzanne. I'm like, oh, I'm on I'm on
oh
to
my
the next one.
God.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm like that, but it's really has been great to hear feedback from past attendees. And, the other, I think it was last year, someone said, because of you, I started my Reiki practice. I came to a Web Summit
Mm.
and you had a workshop. And in that workshop was someone who's a Reiki master. And I
Wow.
had interest, but I wasn't sure and explored it and became a Reiki master. So I hear stories of like that. I hear stories from the nonprofits that, we've over the years given back in some capacity to a nonprofit. And because of connections, I've heard that grants, large, significant grants have come out of the networking that has happened at Web Summit. And then again, the ability to give back to nonprofits in, either goods or cash to their organization has been really great. So just and listening and hearing stories here and there, I'm getting better at capturing those stories because I think it's important for those who are not familiar with Web Summit to understand the experience that I work myself and the advisory board and everyone is in the speakers, the experience that we're trying to create when you walk through into the space, from the
Tell us
very beginning.
about that because
Yeah.
I've been there, but I'm just wondering from how you vision it, how you see it in your mind and how you develop it. Is it different every year or is it similar?
Well, it's similar in that I know at the end of the day, I want it to be a space that's feels very inclusive. It's very diverse. Women from different backgrounds, women of different ages, women from different industries coming together because I feel, and I know for sure that it's really good to when you're out of your bubble. If you're an engineer, you're always in your engineering bubble. Sometimes it's good to step out of that. Even as an entrepreneur, it's sometimes good to get back and listen to women and what they're experiencing, because that may birth a new business idea for you. I'm constantly thinking and asking our attendees, what do you want? What are some
Mm,
of the things that are important to you that you need help with? And then
mhm.
building our agendas around that. But the feeling and the vibe, if you will, at Web Summit is always light, airy, fun. And this year we added a wellness lounge so that if you don't want to go to your breakout sessions
I
and you're,
love that.
today I just want to take a little bit of time for myself to go get an express massage, because thankfully we have this amazing contributing sponsor who's going to be doing, express massages in the wellness lounge. And it's just a place for our attendees to escape if they don't want to, be out in the hubbub and all the activity that's going on, in the main spaces. So that's what I want
You're
when
really
women.
listening. You're really
Yeah.
developing each year based on what you've heard people
Yes,
say. And yeah,
absolutely. When
yeah.
we ask, when they register, and we ask when they leave, what can we help you with?
I
And
love that you do the dance. You've
yes,
got music and movement, because
yes,
I go to summits, I'm sure you've been to them, where
yes.
you have to sit and not move for like 6 hours. And it's like, we're doing a health related mental health or personal
Mhm.
growth, and we're sitting, not moving. It just feels so yours, you get people up and you get moving, and it gets you,
Yes,
it's like a whole person uh
absolutely.
focus.
And because that comes from, thinking, I'm sitting at my desk sometimes, and I told this to someone else, that sometimes I just need a dance break to shake myself out and come back to focus. And so I'll message my sister like dance break, or I'll send her a YouTube video like, this is the song I'm dancing to right now if you want to join me. We don't have to get on video, we don't have to do anything. We can just dance in our chairs or whatever the case may be. So I take the time to think about our attendees, and when it's not never, like I say, I'm my hardest critic. So I'm picking things apart even when I'm hearing the good stuff about the event. And we've had really amazing feedback, but
Mm.
every year there is something that we can work on to make it even better. And it changes because technology is changing. The generations, we have boomers, and we have Gen X and millennials and Gen Z. And so all of these different generations are in the workplace. How can we all respect each other and get along and work together to, for whatever the outcome? And when it comes to being an entrepreneur, you can't just, I feel you're always growing. I feel that you always have to spend time on and learning and networking and building relationships. Yes, it can happen virtually, but it happens better when you're in person. And when you can see the person and look at them and hear them and laugh with them.
Mhm.
I like spending money with people I like.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
you come to these
Yeah.
events, mine and others, amazing events that are being planned out there, so you can network and grow and learn from people.
It's so fascinating, because I'm reading this book called The Anxious Generation. Have you ever heard of it?
Oh, I'm
It's
writing
an
that down.
amazing book. But it talks about like Gen Z basically, and
Mhm.
how they grew up on a phone-based childhood versus a play-based childhood, which we all did. And so
Right.
like having these summits, it's almost like you have to think about how different generations,
Mhm.
the comfort level of interacting, and how to build in things that would help them to be able to I think networking and interacting is so
Yeah.
powerful at these summits.
Absolutely. And then for those who are more technology based, this year we're going to have the, event app so you can connect with each other. So we're not totally,
That's great.
getting away from technology. I mean, our keynote speaker, Maria, is going to talk about artificial intelligence
Oh,
and how
wow.
that can be integrated into already is integrated in our daily life, but especially because I've read some studies that saying, women over 40 are not at risk, but we are likely to be left behind when it comes to AI and technology. And I don't want that. I
Yeah.
want us to know that no matter the age or whatever circumstances, we're productive and a part of society. So we should all be able to have the information and the training. So I'm excited for Maria to talk about, demystify AI and talk about how it can be integrated into our daily lives and where it's going and where it currently is and how we can use it, if we're an individual contributor at an organization or if we are, working for ourselves.
I love that. And I
Yeah.
know, you see so many worlds, like with the corporate stuff you do and
Yeah.
the entrepreneurs that you work with. But I think no matter what, we have to keep, you tell me, but like the idea of keeping up with AI and
Mm-hmm.
moving forward and being relevant, but also incorporating the human element into leadership and being at work. What do you see is like the AI is a big struggle? Any
Yes.
other like kind of human element type things that you see are struggles for people
Yeah.
in the workforce right now? Whether it's
Some of the ones that haven't gone away since I've been doing this for 19 years, time management, imposter syndrome, communication, how do I brand myself and differentiate myself from everyone else so I can move up the career path. So those are some of the questions that I'm seeing coming in when we ask, answers to questions that we ask, what are some professional and personal challenges that you're facing? And it's optional for attendees to answer, but it's great when they do, because
yeah.
then we can, again, get this information to just create a better event for them and then, decide on what we do after the conference. So yeah, those things have not gone away. And it's important, I think now more than ever, for us to be able to connect as human beings, because there's so much technology that can be put in front of us to disconnect us
Yeah.
from understanding each other and listening to each other. I think it should really be used as an enhancement and not a replacement for a real connection.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's wonderful. I love it. I use Chat GPT all the time,
I
you
know.
know.
I do too. I mean,
you
I love
know,
it too.
yeah, it's really great. So it's how can we embrace it and make sure that we're not missing the human element in everything that we do, because I think it's going to be important around, creating laws and creating, opportunities for people and making sure that no one is left behind, or everyone has access to it, so that our society can grow. That's my whole other thing. It's like, oh, if the individual is growing, it means their household is growing, which means their community is growing, which means our country is growing. That's,
Exactly.
it's just how I envision it. And I just love that we get to have a tiny part of that conversation by putting together this event and the work through the work that I do.
It's a ripple effect by
Absolutely is.
inspiring these individual women that come to Women in Business, and their energy expands and they start to
Mhm,
connect and they change who they are.
mhm,
They get inspired to change and grow, and that
mhm.
affects their families and it affects everything. And then just the
Absolutely.
community, like you said, it's just such a ripple effect in terms of getting everybody's, I don't know, raising everybody's vibration and like having the world
Yes.
work together better, which is really, what we need to work on.
Mhm.
Um,
Agreed.
uh, what was I gonna, I wanted to ask you something based on what you said. Oh, time management.
Yes.
I do coaching circles with people, and one of the things we talk a lot about is people um, they have to know that they are worthy to say no or to take time for themselves. And sometimes they see other people doing it and they don't think
Mm,
they get maybe resentful, or they think that's great, but I can't do that because I have to work 12 hours
mm,
a day. But um, do you feel that you've seen any kind of trend with women in terms of taking more control of what they need and shaping their work environment?
mm. I think so. I just think of the women in my circle who are taking time out for themselves and who are taking more control of their careers and prioritizing. Um, sometimes it's mostly about family, or sometimes it's about your career. So it depends on where you are.
Yeah.
I like to share something that I heard from Polaska, who's a woman out of New Jersey. She owns, I think it's called the Fearless Network. I forget her business. Oh, Palaska, forgive me for not remembering.
Oh,
But
I'll
she
look it
talked
up and put
about
it in.
exactly. She talked about likening her life to a burner with those, we talked about it, I
Oh
think
yeah, I love this.
last week. And it's, not everything is on high heat all the time. Think of a stove and you have some things that are simmering, some things that are low, and some things that are high heat. And I really think that women have been prioritizing themselves, their health, their wellness, the time that to create a more, not balance, but just harmony in their life between work and play and family, and specifically time for themselves. I know it can be challenging, especially if you have young kids and all of that. That's not my season in life anymore, but I do remember the juggle, and it does change, and it's just being able to look at your life as it is now and then creating that harmony based on your current situation. And I see that, and there are so many wonderful tools out there to help us to do that, from apps to classes to, circles and groups and other things that will help women to do that and prioritize their life based on their values.
Yeah, yeah, I really like that. And that's key, that it's got to be based on their values.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we don't really know what our values are. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes you just kind of go through your life and you're busy and you're surviving, and you don't really stop and ask yourself, like, well, what is it that I really need and what do I value? And
Yeah.
it's important. And I think everybody values something different and wants something different. So, and it changes, like you said, depending on the season of your life.
Absolutely. And it's important to pause and take the time to figure it out. Even as an entrepreneur, you might start off passionate about one idea and you're going, and you're so successful, but you're not happy because you've strayed so far from what your values are, or you strayed so far from what really makes you happy. Maybe it's not having 8 figures or 7 figures. Maybe it's 6 figures and you're quite happy and life is golden. So it's assessing and taking the time to really understand what makes me happy. Because if you're looking to others and what everyone else is doing, and you're thinking, that's what I should be doing, no way. That's someone
Yeah.
else's, goals or someone else's dream. It's very easy. And I can appreciate that it is easy to get caught up in looking at someone else's life and thinking they have it all together and that's what I would love. But I would, challenge everyone to look at themselves and decide, maybe your favorite car is this car and it's not a luxury vehicle, but you love this. And maybe your idea for the best vacation ever is to be at home with a book versus, on a plane somewhere. So it's really taking the time to journal it down, or however you want to get to that point where you decide, what do I want? What feels right for my life?
Yeah. Is that something, like, what do you think has been the best? Have you implemented a practice for yourself that helps you to stay clear?
Yeah, so this year, years ago, I remember someone gave me The Miracle Morning. Do you know that book
I don't
by
know that morning.
So yeah,
That book. No,
The
I'm gonna
Miracle
write that one
Morning.
down.
Yeah, The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. I did remember that. Sometimes
Okay.
and years ago, someone gave me that book, and I put it aside. I read it in I read a few pages, but I was like, This year, I was listening to a podcast with Tiffany Alici, the Budgetnista, and she had him on her podcast. And so I'm listening to his story and his interview, and he re-released it in a new edition on Amazon. And so I purchased it, and I purchased one for me and my family. Like sent one to everybody, because at the top of the year, we have these New Year's resolution, and I didn't have one to, set out to read books. I'm not great at reading books. I'll start and, I'm totally confessing here, but I finished that one and it was really great. And I encouraged my family to finish the book. And in The Miracle Morning, it just outlines how to start your day. And there are things in there that I had done in the past. Journaling has always been part of my life. There's about 6 things that you do. You journal, you visualize, you meditate. There's some form of exercise in there, and quiet time, just how to set up your day. And you can choose bits and pieces or all the things, but you really set time. And that has been really great, as something that I've come back to. I don't always do everything every day, but it's been really great to just reset my mind
Mhm.
and start my day on just a better footing, a peaceful way to start my day.
Yeah.
And then I make lists. I love pen and paper. So I'm still a pen and paper. As many apps there's ways to electronically and digitally put my life together. That's there too, because I do have my
Mhm.
calendar for appointments and all of that. But I just love the pen and paper and crossing off things on my list. So that makes things clear. And then, when I'm having a bad day, I either take a nap or I'm dancing.
Wow. So it's great that it sounds like you know what helps you when you're having
That's
a
just
bad
it.
day. Everybody
Yeah.
needs to know that. So like,
And
yeah.
my thing might not be my thing might just drive you crazy. But
Hmm.
it's about getting to know what you love to do. And I've spent time enough to know I've really focused on what do I want and who do I want in my life and what situations serve me best. I think therapy is really wonderful, or having a coach is really wonderful if you can,
Hmm.
because it just helps to, bring things in perspective for you. Make sure you keeping helps me to keep my priorities in front of
Yeah.
me. I
Yeah.
know my health is a priority. I know my family is a priority. And I think it's important because at the end of the day, you still get your work done.
I think it helps you to get your work done
I agree.
in a better way,
Yes.
more productive.
I want my work to feel joy filled. Like when my clients see my face, they're like, "Oh yeah, Keisha's ready to roll. She's ready to work for me." And I
Yeah.
am,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's just like with anyone. If you're good, then your family's good, and then so spending time on yourself is not selfish, because especially if you pour out to other people and you pour into your work or your community, whatever the case may be,
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
have to hold first.
I love that. I love that advice. It's great advice. And the idea of the morning ritual too, and things that you need, that you think will be helpful and that other people have found to be helpful.
Yes.
And that's also what I like about your summit and going to the summit is like you hear other people's stories and you know that everybody's got their own story and everybody finds their own way and that we're kind of all in that together. That's really
Mhm.
nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A lot of women have been through divorce or a loss, like, myself. I lost my husband. He was too young,
Oh,
you know,
I'm so sorry to
and
hear that.
no, thank you so much. And so, loss of a job, loss of a parent. We are
Yeah.
all going through our individual things that life has thrown at us.
Yeah.
And so that's why I know that when a woman shows up to work, it's not just there's a switch that turns off and you know things are compartmentalized, bringing their whole selves, broken and all. And so the
Mm-hmm.
things that we can do within the workplace to help that a woman get through and do the best job on behalf of the company works well. And then as an entrepreneur, have to be aware for yourself that you need that care to support you as you try to show up and do what you need to do in the world. Whether you're, CEO of, we have some amazing, powerful women that come to the summit as speakers.
Yeah.
I think of Carla Casenzi, who runs, she's an auto industry. So she has different automobile dealerships. She's a woman in a predominantly male industry.
Yeah.
I think of, Sonia at Latin Financial. She's the CEO
Mm-hmm.
of Latin Financial, who she's speaking on economic development. And, these are all very accomplished women who are showing up in their various disciplines and kicking butt and taking names, but they are also just human beings. And so we have to create that, and consider that whole person in all this, in every situation, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it sounds like the summit is going to be so powerful again this
Yeah,
year. Can
we're
you
gonna
just tell
have.
us when it is and where it is and anything else you want
Oh
to tell us
yes,
about it this year for this year?
yeah. So the VIP night is on September 12th that's optional. The conference is on September 13th. So Friday, September 13th at MGM Springfield from 8 to 4:30. And you can register at wibsummit.com. Our theme this year is breaking barriers. So I love it. We have over 15 speakers from various disciplines who will be there.
It's going to be amazing. Yeah.
Excuse me.
I'm really looking forward to it, and we're gonna put all that information in the show notes, and anybody can register, and you still have space. People can still come, right?
Yes. I don't know if there's any VIP space. I think there's a couple VIP tickets left.
Okay.
But general registration is open until September 6th. So you
Okay.
have until the 6th of September to register.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see you there.
Hey, I'm
and
excited to
everyone
see
else
you
that's coming.
too.
It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah. Is anything else, any takeaway, like any one last takeaway? I mean, you've given us so much great advice already.
I think the one thing that as I'm thinking about, we have 4 more months or 5 more months left in the year.
Mhm.
I would say take the time, if you haven't already, just to think about what and celebrate, first of all, because that's another thing, we don't celebrate our wins, but celebrate the wonderful things that have happened, even if you've had a very crazy first half of the year. But I'm sure if you look hard enough, there's some good that happened. Celebrate that. And then as you think about the last 5 months or 4 months of the year, what you'd like to accomplish. And even if it's to say that, pick one thing that you'd like to do fun for yourself that celebrates you and, looking into what you want to achieve in 2025. And yeah, spend some time loving on you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. A lot of joy.
absolutely.
Focusing on the joy. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so
Thank you,
much,
Suzanne.
Kisha.
It's so great.
Yeah, this has been great. We'll have
You.
to do it again, and I'm good after the summit, and we'll talk all about how it went.
I know, because then we get to planning our 20th anniversary, and we're going to Brighton, England in May. So that's all
Wow.
set. So the 20th
The 20th,
celebration.
so the 20th is in England.
Yes.
Or will there
I'm
be
doing
one
2.
here too?
Yes, there'll be one here and one in Brighton, England, and I'm so excited. Registration for that opens in September. So if you
Wow.
don't have plans for next
Hey,
May,
I'm going.
join
I'd
us.
love to go to that.
That's right. Join us. And Brighton is gorgeous. It's a seaside community in England,
Oh,
and so beautiful. The property that we're staying at, and I'm so excited that we get to go there
that's
next
exciting.
May. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, great.
Thank
Well, we'll have to
you.
keep looking
Bye.
for all of that. Take care. All right.
Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks for watching.